Do you remember the first time you heard the thing that you are referring to as colorism?
His grandmother compared me to the color of a paper bag and said that I was too dark chocolate for him.
So I've always dated black girls in Barbados. However, at some point, I started going to tourist areas and finding white girls from like England, you feel me, from Canada.
And I came home and I talked to my mama T about it. And she said, there's a definition of colorism. And I was like, well, what is, you know what I mean? It was like that moment.
No, man, we don't have an issue with them at all. Like we date all races, just that it doesn't tend to be our preference normally.
It affected me in a way where I was just always uncertain of how I looked. It started to define what beauty was to me.
Look, don't want to deal with all that negative masculine energy? Hell no.
So, we're going to just have a little chat about colorism. Does anyone know what the definition of colorism is?
Is it when you hate on someone because of their colour? Obviously. Like you treat them differently or something?
It definitely goes into it. Has anyone seen any examples of colorism on social media or in school, anything like that?
I've experienced colorism. I was in class and both me and another girl who was white, we both got in trouble. And then normally after, when we go back to form, our form tutor always asks us like what happened, like what we got a C2. And then the girl who defended herself, who also got a C2, wasn't shouted at or anything. But I was told I'm being aggressive and all this stuff. And then he said that the white girl who got in trouble, she's not used to being in trouble, so she handled it well, but you could have done something better, do you know what I mean? I just thought if I was white or if I was like just not a dark skinned girl, maybe he would have, did that. I don't know why darker skinned people are seen as more like scarier or aggressive or like just not a human, an animal. I don't know why, but yeah.
Does anyone else agree with that?
Agree that
Darker skinned people are demonized.
100%. I feel like they just associate being, but a white person could be aggressive. There's a lot of white people that are aggressive. There's a lot of, so.
But when you're black, you're aggressive because
it's the go-to. That's how you first describe a black person rather than a black person for who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you're an aggressive black person or just an aggressive person. Do you think there's tension between dark-skinned men and dark-skinned women?
100%. Yeah. I think especially coming from the high school that I came from, the black community was quite large as well, so it was kind of interesting seeing which type of girls got favoured by the boys, and it was usually the ones that were a little bit lighter, the hair was a little bit longer, and the term all they called was like light-skinned babes or light-skinned queens or whatever. Like dark-skinned girls never really had that status. We weren't really beautiful, the same way that light-skinned girls were seen as being beautiful and the it girl. So yeah, quite interesting, especially with hair. I think like if we ever had natural hair out and say like it was just the struggle bun, the struggle bun.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So if it just came to a little point like this, that's it. The boys they'll have you, and your hair ain't long enough, and then you're masculine.
Especially when you're talking about like European beauty standards, a lot of people trying to like get there by skin bleaching. Has anyone heard of that?
Yeah.
Yes. Has anyone, heard of stories of people bleaching themselves?
Like in my country as well. I don't know many family members that do it, but like I know it's a lot of people do it to like just make themselves look white or to make themselves look light skin, because light skin's the prettiest way to be. It's the most desirable. It's like the way to go, being light skin, and that's how they do that through skin lightening creams and all that stuff.
why do you think that might be damaging to the self-esteem of dark-skinned black men or dark-skinned black women?
Because it sets a standard, and that standard is usually European or white standard. It's not like they're holding us to our own standard. You're comparing us to other people, and we're not white, so we cannot, you know what I mean? Like, that's not how it is for us. So I think it makes you look at yourself as less than compared to another person, and that's...
And remember when there was team dark skin, team light skin?
Yeah. There was no team dark skin, it was just team light skin.
Why'd you say that?
Because nobody wanted dark skin. Like, there was no team dark skin.
Yeah,
there was none.
Or has it ever?
It's made me, like, certain points, it's like kind of made me not want it, but not because I didn't think I was beautiful, just because I don't want all this stress of just being hated on just because of I'm a bit darker. I never thought I was like, and I'm saying like before high school, I didn't used to think there was anything wrong with my skin tone. I didn't used to think there was anything wrong with anything of my body. As soon as I get to high school, that's when all the insecurities come. Like 7 and 8, it was calm. As soon as year 9 came, that's when suddenly everybody hates dark-skinned girls. Then we're less than this, then we're less than that. Then we're just all these, and then imagine being 13, 14-year-old and just hearing that your skin's ugly. And then that's when it's kind of, you can't blame people for wanting to bleach their skin because they've gotten so much backlash from being darker. Like, what do you want them to do?
I remember, I can't remember who said it to me, but they were like, oh, I want to have kids with this type of person so that my babies can look like this. And I used to think to myself, like, I remember I said it to them, I was like, that doesn't sound right.
For me, I used to hate colorism skin when I was like 6, 7, 8, growing up. I used to hate it. Like, being black was like almost, I don't know, it was annoying. Just because you watch the TV and you wouldn't have like dark skin protagonists. And if there was a dark skinned girl, she'd be sassy, or she'd be like louder, and she'd just be like the butt of every joke, or like that. She'd never really be like the one that the boys favoured, or the popular girl in school, or anything like that. It was always
just to always help the main white actress.
Yes, she's always the sidekick.
Do you think teachers are aware of like colorism and how to deal with it?
I think they're aware of it. I just don't think they know what to do, because they're just probably just a bit like, right, okay, that's happening, and like they probably think like there's other better things to deal with than that.
Yeah, and you know what it is, yeah? A lot of teachers are white, so they're not really gonna understand what's actually, they don't know what's going on. Like,
teachers don't really do anything when it comes down to like racism and colorism in the school, because they can't actually do anything, because they'll be like, if they're agreeing with one person, it's like they're disagreeing with the other, and then it just creates a whole thing. But I don't know, I don't think that's right. I think if they think it's wrong, they should still say something.
So what do you think would have helped in school and can help other students who are going through difficult times where they're questioning their self-worth because of the colour of their skin?
Just teachers to be educated about colorism.
Support.
Yeah.
So when you come to them, they know what you're talking about. You don't have to spend time talking about it as well.
Yeah.
To actually teach people what colorism means, because some people might not actually know what it means. They might know what it is, but they might not know what it means. So to teach about what it means and what it is and how it can harm someone, that would be like the first step to like raise as much awareness as you possibly could. Because
I think working in school, one of the biggest things for me would be to create that space to allow the kids to be able to have them conversations. There's not really a time or a space for them to have them conversations.
Yeah.
So
creating that safe space where you just have time without feeling pressured. And as someone who's worked in schools with these black students, would you advocate for it to just be a space for people of colour? Like, would you feel like it's still okay for white teachers and white students to be there?
Difficult. I think together and apart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we have to come together and know what it is for us to be able to say what it is to other people, do you know what I mean? So that they can understand, like, but I think it's also important that teachers that are white know what we're talking about and know, like, but at the same time, I feel like it's important to honour that space where people of colour can, because for a long time we've not had our own spaces, or we've been forced into our own spaces, or segregated, but a space that is controlled by people of colour, I think. Because I honestly feel like it's a maturity thing also. Like, I feel like, yeah, you can have these conversations, but for example, conversations like these, unless people are really interested, unless people are not ignorant, then they're not gonna want to have them, especially in high schools. Like, they're gonna think, what is this? Like, why do we need to talk about this? I don't know what, you know what I mean? So I feel like if it is brought to attention that this happens to these type of people when you're younger, they're gonna be aware of it, and they're gonna know, because you know, kids, they're not gonna want to hurt anyone's feelings, and that's just the values that they're gonna grow up on, and that's just gonna be how it is. Like, for example, being racist, he was always taught at a young age not to discriminate anyone from, and then the people that were taught that, they don't do that because they know it's wrong. So if you taught colorism from a young age, then it won't happen because you know it's wrong.
I feel like a lot of people go through it like alone as well. Like, it is like a thing where a lot of dark skinned girls go through it, but I feel like it's not taught enough, like, it's not talked about enough openly. So I think it needs to start there.
Another thing that is very, very common is that when dark skinned women do talk about their struggles, or dark skinned people do talk about their struggles, it's always like seen as a joke. Like, they don't take it seriously. They think a dark skinned woman, and like they're being passionate, defending themselves in the comment, or just like instantly
Don't
like
cry. Like,
yeah,
it's
like
not that deep.
yeah, it's not that deep. It's not that deep.
One, yeah.
All the time, it's never that deep. What do you mean, like?
It's trivialized.
Yeah, like, it's just seen as not important whatsoever. It's just ignored. A lot more inclusion, but not just because I meet the image you're going for. Not because I bump up your statistic of including black people in your pictures or your posters or stuff like that. Just include me just because I'm good at that, or just because I look pretty. Just because, do you know what I mean? Not just
you're a person.
Yeah, not just to tick off that box that you've included somebody that's of colour, or do you know what I mean? I think definitely a lot of that, and a lot more sensitivity to the way that teachers speak to young people of colour. Them words that we were talking about before, aggressive, don't describe me as that, because now you set me off even without it. And as a child you can't, or a lot of children struggle to regulate their emotions enough to communicate that. So they're gonna play into that, and it's gonna look like they're being aggressive when they're not. It's anger.
Yes,
do you know what I mean?
You've already put the image on them.
Exactly. And they're like, well, I'm not aggressive, but even then they don't understand it, and that's when it starts embedding into them. Like, there'll be little stuff like that as you grow in that set the precedent, basically.
Alright, thank you so much, guys. You did such a good job.
Cheers. Thank you.